has been a while. Welcome back to the ball, everyone. I am your host, the Headbanger. It's the season 4 finale, albeit a belated one, but I'm happy to be here. It's great to finally be back. I hope you all had a really cool, safe, and fun and horrific holiday season. I hope you got all the horror films that you wanted. Yeah, it's great to be back. I'm feeling really good. I'm really excited. I'm starting a 4-day weekend. It's my birthday today, which of course is a depressing thing as you get older, but really excited this time of year because one thing my birthday does mean is the Golden Horn Awards, aka the Hornies. And last year's season finale, I announced the nominations that show for the Best Picture category. I'm going to do the same here this year, but I'm going to also announce the nominations for several of the other big categories. So doing something a little different. I'm going to try to garner a little more excitement for you guys, hopefully. And so here we are, season finale. Thank you all so much for watching this year. And here it is. Welcome to the Golden Horn Awards nomination selection show. Hey guys, so we got to start with a couple things first. Of course, as I say every year, determining what films are eligible for your particular awards or best list or whatever is purely subjective, of course, and it's kind of tricky the way some films are released and how they're released. Sticking with my formula, call me stubborn perhaps, but I'm going to go with it has to have at least gotten some type of theatrical release, which of course in most situations, considering Hollywood doesn't really play too much part in my awards typically, but it has to have some type of DVD, Blu-ray release either here in North America or Region 2, Region 3, something like that. So that excludes like films that end up maybe playing a festival circuit or something. And of course the big deal is, especially this year, the trend of films going to VOD, on-demand, pay-per-view, stuff like that. I'm excluding those films. Maybe I'll eventually, maybe even next year, or not this year as we're in, maybe I'll change that because I completely understand that's the direction, you know, we're going in, and that's the current state of media. Me being the old school physical format collector type guy, obviously I cling to that. But so maybe I'll change, and this coming year, 2015, I'll begin to include VOD releases, because obviously films more and more are being released that format first before they get a distribution deal. But at least for 2014 and this Golden Horn Awards, I'm going to stick with my formula. So the big thing is there's a couple films that excludes from being eligible for my award show, and one in particular that's garnered a lot of praise, and I've seen on a lot of top 10 lists, number 1 on quite a few lists too, and that's the film Starry Eyes. So that will not be eligible for the Golden Horn Awards, not because I don't want to see it. It's definitely a film I'm highly anticipating and I'm expecting to really like. The DVD finally comes out, actually I think next week or the week after. Some other films, Late Phases, the werewolf film that I can't wait to see. Durao Sanchez Exists. A lot of films did come out on VOD over the last few months that I'm just not going to include on my awards, but hopefully they will end up on next year's show. That's just the way it is. It's my award show. Remember, this is the only horror award show that I know of, or that's at least worth mentioning, out there in existence. And hopefully someday we'll have this show in front of thousands of people as well. Other things. You may watch this, maybe to your own discredit. If you missed last year's Golden Horn Awards, there may be some films, if you watch this year, they're like, where's this film? Why wasn't this nominated? There's a few indie films, low-budget films, that were on my show last year because they were re-released this year. A film like Found, which I've seen, great film, which I've seen on a lot of top 10 lists. That was re-released this year. That was nominated on last year's Golden Horn Awards. A couple other films like Seventh Day, Crossbearer, Ballad of Skinless Pete, which was re-released this year as Skinless. All great films, all happy to see them re-released in a bigger distribution. But all those films got their adequate props on last year's Hornies. So in case you missed it, go check it out and see who won for those films. That's all I can really think of as far as before we get going. So here we go. I'm really excited. Yet again, as I say every year, it's a broken record. The horror genre is as strong as ever, and yet another, year after year, another great year. And all right, let's get right to it. I'm going to start with the nominees for Scariest, Creepiest Film, which is a really important category to me and the Headbanger family. has been a really good year, I think, for scary, creepy films. Um, I'd say more. I mean, it's solid every year, but this year in particular, I think was really strong. And I think the diversity of the route these films took to try to scare the viewer and creep out the viewer. The stack is, I think, a really cool, diverse group of films. I'm missing one. A couple of these films today that I show you, I have out being borrowed by friends. But The Den, which is put out by, I believe, IFC Midnight. That was a film that, I try to see as much as possible throughout the year, of course. It's one of those ones going into with low expectations, just because, it's yet another kind of partly a found footage film. It has kind of like, the premise was a girl doing this online project trying to meet as many people as she can from around the world and kind of do like a documentary on that, or whatever it was. It's been a while since I've seen it. But, so I don't know, and it kind of starts off kind of cheeky and just a little more, definitely, I don't know, it's one of those films you begin to watch and you're just kind of very indifferent on it, maybe even leaning towards, this isn't that great. But it's a film where patience pays off, not because of the slow build style, but you're just questioning whether or not this is going to be a good film. And I think it slowly begins to get more and more creepy, and what really made this film, and this is when a lot of films of this ilk suffer, and that's getting the ending right. I feel this film really succeeded. The final act, I think, is fantastic, particularly from the creepy side. Yeah, and that's what really vaulted this film up into being a nominee for this category. And it's one of those films, when it's over, you're just pleasantly surprised, and just when someone gets the ending right, it just makes me all the more happy for it and excited about the film and giving it credit. Lead actress was really cool, really cute. I want to say she was in The Bay. I'm not quite positive, but I'm pretty sure she was the reporter in last year's film, The Bay. Very cute chick. She's got a nice behind. Sorry. I'm not apologizing. You guys know me by now. At the Devil's Door, another IFC Midnight film. Speaking of endings, I think this film takes a little bit, a couple steps back. Not that I dislike the ending. Of course, I'm not going to give any spoilers here in case you haven't seen it. But I think the ending could have been better, and I think it didn't go the way I was hoping it was going to go. Again, it's not to say it was a bad ending. The ending didn't ruin the film at all, but I think it could have maybe even vaulted into Best Picture type category with a really great ending. But it had a really cool, almost like 70s Euro type vibe to this film. Very atmospheric. Kind of, it's a bit vague as the film goes along. You're not quite sure what direction it's going to go on or what they're trying to do with it. There's a couple of cool effects that were surprising well. Just a good, unsettling, atmospheric film. This chick here, sorry, I don't know her name, very hot, good performance. Yeah, just cool atmospheric. Definitely had a 70s vibe, which is what I really liked about it, and obviously highly recommended. Just could have vaulted up a couple notches with a knockout ending. Here's a late edition, which is always, I think, cool every year when I see a film. I push off seeing a film till the very end of the year, and then it surprises me, and I'm happy about it. Last year, Stoker was kind of like that for me. I didn't watch it till like, I think, Christmas Eve or something. This, I literally, guys, I watched this last night. As Above, So Below. Definitely a well-known film from this year. Got somewhat of a limited theatrical release. I love this cover art. Great slip cover on this release, kind of textured. Anyway, we're not talking about slip covers here. I'm sure you all know the premise. Another found footage film, basically. And yeah, this one was a pleasant surprise. I kept putting it off because I heard so many, definitely more negative things about it than positive. Not that I really I never listen to hype. I never base whether or not I see a film. But sometimes I'll just put a film off because I'm just not too excited about it. Yeah, this was just a pleasant surprise. I loved it. The location, I mean, if I had a category on my award show for location, this would probably win. I mean, this looked, it's these underground catacombs. I don't know where they actually filmed it. I don't know if they've actually filmed this film in Paris or not. But man, wherever they filmed it, it didn't have that. I was wondering too if it was going to have that feel of like, clearly they were only filming in maybe a, certain size area where you kind of start to see things repeat. This looked like a really vast, cavernous, catacomb area, which lots of tunnels and tight spots. I don't know. The atmosphere was just fantastic. A lot of good sounds and noises. This would have been great with a surround sound system, which I need. Performances were solid. And what really did it for me that surprised me was the second act of the film. Things really picked up, and particularly, I don't want to give anything away in case you haven't seen it. There's a couple, for lack of a better term, creatures, whatever you want to call them, that ended up towards the end of the film, which I thought looked awesome and creepy and cool and old school, and to get to it at the end is really where this film, I think, either fell apart for some people or people loved it. Definitely, you know, I won't say provocative, but definitely one of those love-hate endings. One of those ones, the more I think about it, the more I love the ending, because I think the cool thing about this film, it has a high alchemy is a big subject matter in this film, and I think when you actually think about that, and depending on how much you do or do not know about alchemy, it ties the film together really well. It really makes the end of the film makes it a lot more sensible, a lot more accurate and acceptable, I think. Could the ending have been better? Perhaps, but I think considering what this film was about, I think it tied up really well, and I liked it. And the more and more I think about it, and the more and more I think about a key point to alchemy and alchemists, it makes all the more sense and makes me like the ending even more. So, which I think may have gone over quite a few people's heads, if you don't know too much about alchemy. But yeah, overall, very pleasant surprise, very creepy film, atmospheric, and the location is just awesome. Another one, again, kind of surprised with. I didn't have high expectations. Great slipcover, once again. Taking to Deborah Logan, went into it, low expectations. Creepy film, and her performance, Jill Larson, in her 60s, really makes this film, I think. She just off the wall. Her performance is just nuts. Some of the looks she gives, slowly losing it. Yeah, just so awesome. I love the angle of this of you know, Alzheimer's disease. I thought was such a creative way of taking that, you know, a tragic disease and putting a horror spin on it, and maybe a supernatural spin on it. And there's particularly a scene towards the end of this movie, I don't think anyone saw it coming. Looks really cool, creepy, and if you know the film, you like the film, sure you know the scene I'm talking about. But highly recommended, Taking to Deborah Logan. Film I haven't heard too much about, and that's Torment. Indie film with the great Catherine and sexy Catherine Isabel. Yeah, just a good, you know, simple, basic home invasion type film. Much more serious in tone than last year's Your Next. And there's these great masks. Basically, these the invaders take over the kid in the film. Isabel and her husband have a son, and they cut up the kid. Has these big stuffed animals like bears and bunnies. They actually cut them up and use them as a costume, which I think looks awesome. It looks really creepy. Just haven't heard too many people talk about it. I think it has good atmosphere. Isabel's really cool in it. It's just a normal like mother role, which is really cool. And like the ending a lot. Has a bit of good gore in it. And the only problem I have with this film at all is the transfer is just really bad for a new film. I don't know. I don't understand why. It's not like it's a super low budget film. I mean, it looked like it had, you know, no, I just don't get why it looked so bad. But yeah, I haven't heard too many people talk about it. Highly recommended. Atmospheric, and these masks are just awesome. And lastly, a film that kind of like all these, they just all kind of surprised me. And this is a film you know, this is a Necrostorm film, Judy. I like these films a lot, but typically they're just big time gore fest, and I think that's why a lot of people didn't like this one, because it's way more. It totally took a turn to the atmospheric style, build up, slow build. Some great gore, but it's not till the final act, and that's what I actually really liked this film, because it was a departure from the other Necrostorm films, which to me, I can only take so much of, because after a while they just feel like very video gamey with just constant barrage of gore, and this one took a completely different turn. Minimalist, creepy clowns, and there's some great creep out moments in this film. Absolutely loved it. Such a pleasant surprise, because I'm so happy they kind of went with a more you know, creepy, atmospheric route. Just such a good year for our creepy, scary films. Next up, low-budget horror films. Your nominees are... too much here as usual, but yeah, just like last year, I had to split what has been before a single category into two categories, just because the indie horror scene is thriving so well the last couple of years. So I had to cut it into two categories just to fit more films. And so I have a best indie horror film category, and this one the best low budget horror category. Obviously, they both tie into the indie horror scene. I don't know the exact budget totals that these films had to work with, so I mean, I'm just guessing here and kind of going with how I thought the film looked. So I mean, I didn't do any research on any of that. So this is just me separating those films and kind of going with these films I thought were a bit more on a smaller budget side compared to the other ones. Coyote. If you like your trippy, mindfuck, visceral, nightmarish type films, a little more quirky and different. Definitely, I don't know if I to say David Lynch, but definitely just a little more on the, even in some ways, kind of Cronenberg. You guys know what I'm trying to say here. Just more on that style of film. If you don't like those kind of mindfuck films, probably won't like this one. If you do, done on a really low budget, really cool. Just Bill Oberst, who does a fantastic job just playing this writer, and it's kind of just about basically losing your mind. He's trying to write, and sleep deprivation comes in. He basically says the tagline here: "Sleep is the enemy." So he goes days without sleeping, and obviously he turns into more and more of a nightmare, which is just really cool. Really cool film. Haven't heard too many people talk about that one either. Disco Path, from the really cool label Black Fawn Distribution. I've liked several films by them. Really cool, old school. Well, it's a throwback film, of course, to the disco era of the early 80s, late 70s. Not quite as, actually I had watched this as a double feature with Disco Exorcist, that film was much more on the humorous, over-the-top exploitation film. Well, this one's more in the kind of like slasher route, and actually has some pretty stylish kills in this film. I don't like disco music at all, but I mean, it was just cool hearing authentic disco music as the score. That's the cool thing about the premise is this guy hates disco music so much that when he hears it, he just sees red and has to kill people, which is really cool. I think it's really fun. Some hot chicks in this film, of course. The clothes match for the era, everything. And like I said, what really stands out to me is the stylish kills to it, almost in some ways like an Italian feel on some of the kills. There's one where a girl is dying underneath the floor of the disco, and you have like those lights. People are dancing on the floor, and you can see her through the transparent floor with the lights. Really stylish. Another kill involves some gore on a stomach and chest, which looks really good actually. I kind of wish there was more of that gore in the film because it looks so good in certain areas. But yeah, just an awesome retro slasher, Disco Path. Crawl or Die, one of those films, very low budget, but they made this film look a lot better than it should look, and a lot bigger of a budget it looks. I mean, it has a big feel to it, just in its overall feel, narrative presentation. But it's funny, it looks big, but it's very small in that it's, in case you haven't heard about this film, very claustrophobic. A majority of this film takes place in little tunnels to the point where you just wonder how it was even shot. And honestly, I mean, you don't get a feel that, oh, it's just them in one tunnel and they keep changing. I mean, if you feel much like As Above, So Below, you feel like this is a much more vast location than it most likely really was. Cool alien. Yes, the alien is clearly inspired by the Alien film and the Geiger artwork and whatnot and style. But I think that just made it all the more cooler for me. Majority effects practical, just really cool. The sounds, minimalist style, great sound effects, creepy. Let's see right here. Nicole Alonso, awesome performance. Not a lot of dialogue in this film. It's just she is sexy as hell. Let me say that first off. But her crawling through, trying to get these people through these tunnels, dealing with this creature. It was just a badass fucking film, and I loved it. Obviously, hence the reason it's up. Kill That Bitch, Dustin Mills, a big fan of him, particularly what he's been putting out the last couple of years. I wasn't big on the puppet stuff earlier in his career, but I just think he's getting better with each film. And last year, he won in this category for Ballad of Skinless Pete. And another strong one this year with Kill That Bitch. Best, if you haven't seen this film, the best thing is for me is to not say anything. I love the ending of this film. Fantastic. Wasn't expecting it. Seek this one out. I like the artwork on the back. You can see that. Just another home run for Dustin Mills in this category yet again. Can he repeat back-to-back years? And Blood Widow. This one I rewatched recently. I love this film. Again, very low budget, acting spotty here and there, which you can expect, but and this killer looks absolutely fantastic. Not a real gory film, but the kills that were in it were very well done. I love the ending to the film. Yeah, I just love this film. I loved it even more watching it the second time around. Great slasher, great low budget slasher, awesome killer. Got the ending right. Everything you need out of a slasher film on a low budget. And finally, another film that I don't have right now. I'm lending it out right now, and that is a film called Worm. Another pleasant surprise. Didn't know too much about it, but I mean, what a fantastic job, particularly by the cast. Such a good job performance-wise. Apparently that a lot of it was improv, and you can definitely feel that, but it's done just so well. You know, there's a love story element to it, but another film that I don't want to give too much away. It's best going into this film blind. Just trust me. Just fucking buy it, support it, and love where this goes. Love the ending. Just a perfect example of, you know, having a little budget and just doing something creative with it, and you know, relying on good performances, good script. Yeah, just awesome. It's one of those, all these films, anytime you have a low budget film, you end up loving it, and you see the creativity and the effort and passion in there. It just makes you so excited. And Worm is just a badass, low budget sci-fi horror film. Please check that one out. And yeah, what a strong category yet again this year. Okay, your nominations for Best Indie Film, as I separated the categories, as I said. Yet, I mean, people complain about the found footage. I don't love them, but you know what? It's not like, I wouldn't say I'm sick of them, because I'm just sick of bad ones. I'm sick of any bad horror films. You know, I don't really care what style it is as long as it's good. And I gotta say, this has been, as you can see, I would say this is a strong and a resurging year for the subgenre that won't go away. I found footage. Here's another one, The Afflicted. It's awesome, creative vampire film, I'll say. And yet another one that I think the less you know, the better. Man, there's actually been some really cool indie vampire films over the last couple of years. If you go and watch past Hornies, seems like every year there's a couple of really cool vampire films doing it in a very creative way on the indie scene. And this is an example using an illness in that way. And very ambitious film, and I mean, some of the effects towards the end of the film, the final act, were actually really impressive, and much like Crawl or Die, just has a much more bigger feel than what I'm sure what it is, and just very ambitious, and you guys got to seek this one out. It's fucking awesome. Judy, once again, another category. I gotta say, when I get to the Best Picture nominations, all those films up for Best Picture are not eligible to be up for other categories, film categories. They can be up for individual stuff, but the film categories, just to make it a little more of a big deal and exclusive, being a Best Picture nomination. But anyway, second nomination for Judy, I already talked about, of course. Now this film got a lot of praise and accolades this year. Blue Ruin, yes, this is a horror film in my book. I consider a lot of revenge films as horror. Well written, well acted. Great score, very brutal at times, just pretty much everything you want out of an indie revenge horror film. Yeah, just awesome. I love the ending. It's kind of a slow burn feel to it. Very well done. This is from the director of Murder Party, so a complete 360, which I love to see out of filmmakers. We want to show that diversity. Speaking of diversity in this category, one of the more fun, cheesy films on this awards this year. Wolf Cop, great artwork. Yeah, cool having a vampire film, revenge film. Now we have a werewolf film. I love that it's a suit. It looks really cool. Definitely cheesy and cheddary, but works really well. Some good gore, mostly practical stuff in this film. Sarah Lind right there, who was in a zombie film that I love from several years back called Severed. She's very sexy in this film. Just well written, fun. I mean, it's a Wolf Cop. What do you expect? And they pulled what they're going for. They pulled it off very well. I'd love to see a sequel from this Canadian film. Love the slipcover on this Region 2 release. I think it's finally coming out Region 1 this month or next month. Treehouse, another film I haven't really heard much talk about. Maybe it's because people thought it sucked or weren't aware of it, but look at another great cover, another great slipcover. What a great year for slipcovers. We watched this actually on our Halloween movie marathon this year. This was like the 7th or 8th film, I think, so by the time that we got to this film, I was about, a dozen beers in, a few pounds of barbecue. I mean, we were, on the ropes at that point. And I liked it, but I definitely one of those ones I had to rewatch it. I did something recently, liked it even more. I was much more coherent and really cool, atmospheric, vibey, dark film. A couple of young actors, I'd say they're in their teens. So because of that, it had that kind of like 80s feel to it, just like a film that you could have seen in the 80s, but don't get me wrong, it's not a cute film or anything. It's a dark film. The ending, I'll say this about the ending, it just left me wanting more. I wanted to see this film go on for another half hour to 45 minutes. Basically, I'll call it a creepy revenge film, I'll say that. Yet again, a film the less you know the better. Definitely check it out. Haven't heard enough people talk about it. Similar situation, this one, Talpa. You don't have too many opportunities to get this film. You either had to get this rather pricey edition, which is a great edition, comes with a great score, Blu-ray and DVD. But I think that hurt this film. You would have had to have really put out the money for it. It did have another release though. I believe there's a Region 2 or 3 DVD and Blu-ray release. Please seek this one out, especially if you love Italian horror. If you love giallos, I mentioned this film on my Italian Horror Month for modern Italian horror. This director did a film Shadow from a few years back, so it's cool seeing Italian horror represented here again, and just a really cool throwback giallo, which is kind of there's been a resurgence of that over the last couple of years, which I'm of course fine with. Anything to do with Italian horror. Cool kills, sexy performance by the lead actress, some really stylish kills too, good gore, awesome score. To me, it's everything you want. I know this film got some negative reviews, as does any film, but I thought it was great. Loved it. Talpa. Next up, one of my favorite categories, year after year, strong as hell. Your nominations for Best Foreign Horror Film. If you're ever perceptive enough to notice as you watch my show, my locations slightly tend to alter as time goes on, because I sit on a chair with wheels, in case you're wondering what the hell is going on. It's not your eyes or anything. Best foreign category, I mean, these last two categories are what to me keeps the horror scene and the genre strong as hell every year. And when you hear those idiots say, there's just not... If you're going by Hollywood, of course you're going to say something like that, that you don't think the horror genre makes good films, but it's that foreign scene and that indie low-budget scene that really keeps it strong year in and year out. And man, I could have added, I try to keep categories in the 5 to 6 film range, but I mean, there's about 2 or 3 other films I could have easily added to this category. Borgman, great release from Draft House Films. I love Draft House Films, the fact that they put these films that, usually foreign films, that don't seem to get a lot of attention and make it a nice distribution to North America, and they use great artwork and reversible sleeves and offer deluxe editions and all that. Really cool. Is this man, I'm going to forget what it's a Czech film. I'm pretty sure. Oh no, I think it's actually a Dutch film. And it's just this guy Borgman. I don't want to get too much into the plot. He ends up at this rather affluent family's home, kind of weasels his way in to their lives and fucks everything up. I'll leave it at that. Very it's a quirky film. You gotta like your more abstract, art house, dark, weird, oddball films to appreciate this one. But there's also very demented, twisted, at times creepy side of this film, and it's just very I don't know. It just has that methodical way about it and a sense of dread throughout the whole thing. I loved it. If you like your offbeat stuff, you gotta get that film. Under the Skin, kind of similar in that film, in that you kind of gotta enjoy your more strange films, and this is an awesome sci-fi horror, just strange film. And it was actually awesome seeing Scarlett Johansson, who you guys know I said I'm not. My love of Hollywood, which was once much stronger in my earlier years, just as time goes on becomes less and less. And but I've always loved Scarlett Johansson. I just wish she would take on more roles like this and just kind of do more foreign stuff, indie stuff. She's a really great actress, great singer too, as well. Sexy as hell, of course. But yeah, I love the vibe of this film. Great score. Just had that unnerving feel throughout the whole thing. Weird, dark. I love the ending, and just a cool, dark fable. The narrative was very, fable-like, fairy tale in some ways, kind of like Borgman. I loved it. Not for everyone, for sure. I loved it. Housebound. I mean, most people I hear who watch this one enjoyed this. This may be one of the more unanimous, the love that this gets this year. Just fun. I want to say Australian or New Zealand. This film, but man, this is just a blast. Great performances by this lead actress, very cute as well. Had some creepy moments, but overall, I think once you realize the direction it was going, and once this big reveal takes place, you realize this is just a fun horror film, some good gore as well. It's just a blast from start to finish. Extremely well done, well written. It would make a good double feature with either Bad Taste, other films from that region. So many, Brain Dead, Body Melt. You know what I mean? Just it would work really well with those films, and it was just an absolute blast. Love that artwork as well. Mobius, Asian film finally represented here, directed by, I'm gonna say his name wrong, Kim Ki-duk or Duck. I don't know, Kai-duk. I don't know. This is just to say this. I don't want to get into the plot. It's a fucked up story. Of course, it's written, in Asia, so it's going to be twisted and fucked up. But what really makes this why I love it so much, this is basically a silent film. Very little dialogue. It's all about relying on the performances and the storytelling. And I just commend it so much for that. So dark and twisted with minimal dialogue. This film blew me away. I fucking loved it. Loved the ending too, as well. They got the ending right. Dark, twisted, brutal film. Insane. Brilliant. Loved it. If you like your Asian cinema and you haven't seen that, you have to see that. Witching and Bitching, said it many times. One of my favorite modern directors. I don't want to say modern. One of my favorite directors, period. Alex de la Iglesia. One of the few directors out there. Maybe put Sion Sono with him and some of these other Asian directors. He's not Asian, but they have some balls. I mean, this problem I have with Hollywood directors. There's just no balls. There's no they don't push any limits. This is the quintessential director that does that. His films are just very diverse, but all of them have that crazy feel. He uses a lot of social metaphors in them. And Witch and Mission, I could not wait for this film. I'm so glad it came out. The great sexy Carolina Bang. This is a blast from start to finish. Just a riot of a horror film. This would go great actually with Housebound. Just a lot of fun. Some ridiculous, you guys know I hate CGI. So ridiculous CGI at the end of this film. But because it's De La Iglesia, it doesn't surprise me, and it surprisingly doesn't bother me, just because if you know his body of work, it just fits in. But other than that, just an awesome film. Well written. I mean, that's the thing. The script, witty, funny, extremely well written film. The dialogue is fantastic. Lastly, a strange color your body's tears. Love that artwork. Again, like Topol, another homage to Italian giallos of the back in the day. done by a couple French directors. They did Armor, which I loved. And this one, I mean, again, a film that's not for everybody. Abstract, it's all about the visuals. This film looks and sounds absolutely amazing. I definitely would probably upgrade to the Blu-ray just because, I mean, it looks great anyway on DVD, but the Blu-ray would look even better. It has those red tones, that Bava Argento look to it. I just absolutely love that slasher giallo. And honestly, guys, I mean, it's not like reading Shakespeare. I mean, if you just pay attention, the narrative is just done in a slightly more different, abstract way. It's the way some people react. They act like it's completely incoherent and confusing. It's really not, guys. Just pay attention and realize it's just slightly more of a different style. And actually, I've seen this 2 or 3 times now, and I began to pick up things more and more the more times I watched it, which I think just adds to the brilliance of it. Fantastic. What a year for foreign horror, as always. Individual awards before we get to the big prize of Best Picture. Obviously, I'm not going to go through each one of these people. Clearly, you know, acting wise, I thought they did a great job. But on the actor category, to pick someone out, what is it? Noah Wiseman, the young kid, very young. I don't know what his exact age was in the Babadook, but I just want to point him out because I know I think some people were annoyed by him that I've read in reviews. I thought he was absolutely fantastic. Obviously at that age, acting so well. But I mean, the role he was playing with that kind of exuberant, you know, autistic feel to him, and dealing with the loss of his father, and then he has this crazy imagination and the fears, childhood fears. I thought the kid just nailed the role superbly. I mean, I love the kid. I don't see how you could be annoyed with him. I just thought he was absolutely fantastic, as all these other guys, and it just shows the diversity, you know, the age range and the different films that these people were up for. Just great performances by the men of horror. Yes, I'm sorry, I have a cheat sheet here. But again, with the actresses, obviously I feel they all did a fantastic job, hence the reason they're in this category. But what stands out for me, again, the diversity of these roles and the ages. I mean, you have Missy Keating from Dark Touch, who was 12 years old, 11 or 12 at the time that she filmed that. And then you have Jill Larson, as I said, great performance in Taking to Deborah Logan at 67 years old. You know, what she did in that film, bearing it all, just me totally the quintessential example of just giving yourself to the role, throwing yourself out there, much like Asami from Gun Woman. Not that you have to be naked to totally throw yourself out there. Not that what I would have minded seeing Christy Ray naked. I'm sorry. But, you know, just throwing yourself out there for the part. Asami, very physical role, very little dialogue. I could have had all 3 actors from Mobius up for this award as well, because to be in a film where you're hardly having any dialogue and it's all about your expressions and your emotion, it's just so well, much like in Asami and Gun Woman. Just love it. The diversity of these actors and the age range is, to me, this year what will really stand out for the individual actors of 2014 horror. The directors, great category, of course, giving props to the people that brought us these films. Joe Stauffer, just a great guy who just essentially to me kind of came out of nowhere. We all had seen that trailer, and just gave us this brilliant indie horror film. Dustin Mills, you know, kind of cool having him represented in Best Director for the low budget indie side of cinema, horror cinema. And I mean, let's face it, guys. Not only, as you guys know, I love To Kill That Bitch, but let's not forget he made 2 other films this year, and you know, they're not included in any of these. Not because I didn't love those films. Her Name Was Torment, with the Hornet Sting and the Pain It's Caused. 2 awesome films. I mean, I loved both of them, and it was tough leaving those 2 films out of these categories. But 3 films in a year to me is just incredible. It's not like this guy, you know, I gotta make as many horror films as I possibly can. This is quantity and quality at the same time, and I just give him so much credit. Example of, you know, doing a lot with less, and his films are getting better as they go on. There's already out there, Apple Cart is being, I'm not sure if it started filming yet, but that looks really awesome. They're starting to fund that, I believe. I don't know, but I can't wait to see that. The cover artwork looks great. Just Dustin Mills, I mean, truly a star in the indie scene, the low budget scene, and to have 3 films in 1 year, one of which I have up for, you know, best low budget film. The other 2 I really did love and highly recommend them. There's a great edition of the Hornet Sting that you guys should seek out if there's any left. Jennifer Kent, great seeing a female director. I always say how, talking to my daughter, Little Headbanger, how there's just not a lot of female directors out there, just a handful. And you know, seeing the Soskas, I totally bless their success, and seeing Jennifer Kent somewhat come out of nowhere with the Babadook, great film, and I hope that she stays. I hope we don't lose her to another genre. I want to keep her in the horror films. Kim Ki-duk essentially made a silent film. I mean, a film with minimal dialogue and just so provocative and powerful and strong and visceral and just awesome. And Lorenzo Bianchini bringing Italian horror back, as well as the film Talpa and some of these homages to the old Giallo films. But you know, Lorenzo Bianchini, I was a big fan of him with his last film, Custodes Bestai, which I mentioned in my Italian Horror Month, and just knocking it out of the park and taking such a huge leap and step in quality with Across the River, and bringing truly atmospheric, creepy horror back in such a great way. Just look at the diversity of these films, of these directors, of the budgets of these 5 films. Just awesome. What a great year it's been. And your nominees now at last for Best Horror Film, Best Horror Picture of 2014. Your nominees are guys, this excites me. It really does. You know, getting to this point, the final category, and telling you guys, let's see, 5. I usually typically keep it to 5. I would do 6, but anyway, 5 films I thought were the best of the year, and yeah, get to it. Number 1, as you saw, The Babadook. This film got a lot of praise, and I've seen, of course, anytime you have a big hyped film, a film that gets a lot of talk, buzz, whatever you want to call it, that's gonna create and lead to people just, the classic line I think is, you know, did not live up to the hype or overhyped, which is fine. Obviously, if you feel that way, that's cool. But I never ever let hype detract me or deter me or influence my feelings on a film. I mean, I'm gonna watch it, and as I say, I always go into every horror film desperately wanting to watch it, hoping that it ends up on the Hornies, you know. So I never go in with that, you know, kind of, oh, this is gonna, you know, I hope this sucks, whatever. Hype or no hype, I thought this film was absolutely fantastic. One of the biggest reasons is the storyline was so good. I mean, there was a lot of symbolism that I think people may have missed out on, particularly in the ending. And this is, of course, just my opinion, and it was symbolic to me and what I took out of it. And I love films like that anyway, where you can kind of take your own thing. And in my mind, the ending to this film wrapped up the symbolism that I thought it was going for, and that's why I love the ending. and I guess maybe I'll explain what I feel that means later on, in case you have yet to see this film. But and I love the homages to old school horror. That's particularly too. I mean, the way he looks anyway is to me very, almost like a combination of Coffin Joe and like the old German expressionist films, with the top hat and the way it was kind of almost like the book and the paper. And there's a couple of shots of him where it's total homage to old school German expressionist horror, Caligari, Nosferatu, stuff like that. And of course there was a scene where they also happened to be watching Black Sabbath on TV, so any homages to Mario Bava is going to get high praise in my book. Lorenzo Bianchini's Across the River, a film that I don't know, I just haven't heard anyone talk about. Maybe people just thought it sucked or they didn't see it. But I thought it was absolutely fantastic. One phrase, my quote on here would be atmospheric as fuck. If you don't like slow burn, atmospheric, vibey films, you won't like this one. If you do, and you love Italian horror, you have to get this film. Excuse the lame artwork. And the final act of this film is just fucking awesome. Mostly rain and night shots, dark, dreary, gloomy, and the final act gets really creepy as hell, particularly with a couple girls, and there's a couple shots with some sheets that totally reminded me of Argento and Tenebrae. So, Escape from Tomorrow had a small, very small theatrical run last year, so I consider this year. This DVD release came out in the late winter, early spring. Just, I don't know. I know a lot of people hate it. Definitely a love-hate film. Definitely Lynch style. I loved everything about it. I mean, it was provocative. Obviously, just the way it was shot, the guerrilla filmmaking. Tough to leave Randy Moore out of the best director category, because not only the awesome idea, but the way that you know, the way he shot this, and just the whole, you know, I love this phrase: bad things happen everywhere. Fuck Disney. Fuck that shit. I thought he pulled off fantastic. I love that it was shot in black and white. I love how it ended, a true horror film ending. It was definitely provocative. A lot of, I mean, there was a creepiness factor to it. There was some very irreverence to it. I just loved it. Completely loved it. Pieces of talent. I mean, I've barked about this film all year. Did a Just Fucking Buy It review on it. I love this film. I love Joe Stauffer. I love Christy Ray. I love David Long. And I can't wait for the sequel. And just, these people have my utter full support going forward. And I hope Joe Stauffer continues to make horror films, because I think we got a very special person in our genre right now with him. Gun Woman, again, I love this film. It's probably my most watched film of all these films this year, maybe with Pieces of Talent as well. Just an absolute blast. Yes, this is a very deluxe edition that you would have had to spend a little more on, like Talpa. This has come out in December on Region 2 on both regular DVD, cheap, and Blu-ray. Please, guys, seek this film out. Great gore, great soundtrack, sexy performance, awesome ending, great horror revenge film. Alright, guys, now you have to find out who's going to win these awesome awards, these Hornies. Sunday night, live, January 18th, 8 o'clock. Please be there. There will be some other categories as well that I did not feature here. So I hope you guys make it. I hope you guys are excited like I am. See who wins. See who takes home the coveted prize of Best Picture 2014 in horror. We'll see you all, guys, at the Golden Horn Awards. Thanks so much for watching this long season finale as usual. Thanks so much for the support. Stay scared. Please, we'll see you in the Golden Horn Awards. Sunday the 18th, 8 o'clock. Live, people. We'll see you then. I'm out.